What if I told you that right now, in 2025, there are places in America where you can live without paying federal income tax, where the government barely knows you exist, and where the rules of modern society simply don't apply? Places where nobody's gonna ask for your social security number, where you can build a house without a permit, where the word compliance sounds like a curse word from another dimension, where the IRS looks at a map, points, and says, yeah, we're not going there. I'm talking about forgotten American territories, islands lost in the Pacific, corners of Alaska where your only neighbor is a bear who doesn't care about your credit score, areas so remote that Google Maps gives up halfway through and politely suggests you return to civilization like a responsible adult. These are the last corners of America that escaped the system, the final frontiers where bureaucracy threw up its hands and said, you know what? You win. Places that exist in a legal gray zone so weird that lawyers get headaches just thinking about them. Still, for now, before Starbucks finds out, before someone turns them into resorts with mandatory yoga sessions, before Elon Musk buys them too and makes everyone use X as currency. By the way, if you believe that freedom is cool, but algorithmic engagement is cooler, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel, because subversive information doesn't spread itself. It needs your digital participation in the attention economy. The irony is not lost on me, or you. We're all trapped here together. Might as well enjoy the ride. Let me guess your life right now. You wake up, check your phone, 17 notifications about things you didn't ask for. Your bank app reminds you about a subscription you forgot to cancel 9 months ago. Your email has 3 messages from HR about mandatory compliance training. You drive to work, pass 4 speed cameras. Your car insurance app is tracking your driving habits for your benefit. Your phone knows you stopped at Taco Bell, even though you specifically told yourself you wouldn't. At work, you need approval for everything. Want to change your desk? Form. Want to expense a lunch? 3 signatures. Want to breathe differently? Probably need to check the employee handbook first. Section 4.7, paragraph 3. You pay taxes on your income. Then sales tax when you spend it. Property tax on your home. Tax on your car. Tax on gas. Taxes to fund agencies that create regulations that require licenses that cost money that gets taxed again. It's taxes all the way down. It's a beautiful circle. You're living in a bureaucratic mandala, and somewhere, deep in your soul, you think there has to be a place where people just live without all this. Spoiler alert, there is. Several, actually. They're weird. They're forgotten. They're absolutely real. See, here's the truth hiding under the carpet of modern American civilization. The system isn't everywhere. It's close, it's trying, it's expanding like a determined fungus. But there are still gaps, cracks in the matrix, places where the bureaucratic tentacles of modern governance haven't quite reached. Not because these places are lawless wastelands, not because they're dangerous, but because they're inconvenient, too far, too small, too expensive to govern properly, too weird to fit into normal categories. And the people who live there? They've found something that most Americans forgot exists. Genuine autonomy, the kind where your life is actually yours, where rules are made by people you can physically meet, where the federal government is more like a distant rumor than a daily presence. This video is about those places, the territories, the towns, the islands, the legal loopholes in physical form, the last corners of America where you can still slip through the cracks. And trust me, once you see what's possible, you'll never look at your HOA regulations the same way again. Let's start with the obvious ones that somehow nobody talks about. American Samoa, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, the US Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. Now you might be thinking, wait, aren't those just America? And that's where it gets delicious. Legally speaking, these places exist in what can only be described as constitutional limbo. They're American, sort of. They're territories, kinda. They're subject to federal law, mostly. It's complicated. Here's the beautiful part. If you live in American Samoa, you don't pay federal income tax. You read that right. American soil, no federal income tax. The IRS looks at American Samoa like a kid looks at vegetables. They know they should deal with it, but they really don't want to. The reason? These territories are unincorporated, which is legal language for we own them, but we haven't decided what to do with them yet, so let's just not apply the full Constitution. It's been over 100 years. Still haven't figured it out. Bureaucracy moves slow, but this is impressive even by government standards. In American Samoa, you're a US national, but not automatically a citizen. You can live on American territory, under American protection, with access to American passports. but the federal tax code treats you like you're living on the moon. It's a loophole so big you could drive a cruise ship through it. The catch? You're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Your Amazon deliveries take 3 weeks. Your nearest Costco is a 6-hour flight. The trade-off for escaping the system is that you also escape next-day shipping. Choose wisely. Now let's talk about Alaska. Not Anchorage, not Juneau. I'm talking about the Alaska that exists in the spaces between places, the bush communities, the off-grid settlements, the towns where road access is a cute idea for city folk. There are communities in Alaska where the only way in or out is by bush plane or boat, where the population is 12 people and a moose named Gerald, where the nearest police officer is 200 miles away and probably won't come anyway because he's dealing with a bear situation. In these places, you can build whatever you want. Literally, no building codes, no inspections, no permit office because there is no office. You want to construct a house out of shipping containers and hope? Go for it. Architecture is a suggestion. Physics is your only constraint. Property taxes? Minimal or non-existent in many areas. Sales tax? What sales? The nearest store is a plane ride away. You're living in an economic system where bartering is still a legitimate strategy and your currency is ammunition, fuel, and competence. The federal government knows these places exist, technically, on paper, but enforcing federal law when you need to charter a helicopter just to show up, that's a budget problem. So they don't. They let locals handle it. And locals have different ideas about how things should work. It's not anarchy. It's what governance looked like before we decided everything needed 17 layers of oversight. It's a social contract written by people who actually know each other's names. The trade-off? Winter lasts 8 months. Your vegetables come from a can. Your entertainment is staring at northern lights and hoping the generator doesn't die. But you're free. Genuinely. Totally free. The kind of freedom that comes with frostbite risk. Here's something that blows people's minds. There are 326 Native American reservations in the United States. And on those reservations, tribal law supersedes a lot of federal law. Not all of it, but a lot of it. Tribal governments are sovereign nations, actual nations, with their own laws, their own courts, their own rules. The FBI has jurisdiction over major crimes, sure, but for most day-to-day governance, that's tribal business. You want to see this in action? Go to a reservation and try to enforce a federal regulation that contradicts tribal law. Watch federal agents politely explain that they don't actually have authority here. Watch them leave. It's like watching a glitch in the Matrix in real time. Some tribes have used this sovereignty brilliantly. They've created casinos, tax-free cigarette sales, cannabis dispensaries in states where it's federally illegal. They've turned legal loopholes into economic engines. But it goes deeper than commerce. On many reservations, you can live under a completely different legal framework. Property ownership works differently. Taxation works differently. Community decisions get made through tribal councils, not distant bureaucrats. Now here's the catch. You generally need to be a tribal member or married to one to fully benefit from this. Tribes control their own membership. It's not a loophole you can just exploit. It's actual sovereignty that belongs to actual nations that were here first. But the principle remains. Even in modern America, there are places where federal authority is negotiable, where other systems of governance exist and function, where the system is whatever the local community decides it should be. It's a reminder that the monolithic American government we imagine isn't actually monolithic. It's full of gaps, some intentional, some accidental, some the result of complicated historical treaties that nobody wants to revisit because opening that box would require admitting uncomfortable things. Okay, now we're getting weird. Let's talk about international waters. Technically, if you're 12 nautical miles off the coast of the United States, you're not in the United States anymore. You're in international waters, different rules, or really, barely any rules. Maritime law is, let's call it flexible. There's a whole movement called seasteading, people who want to create floating communities in international waters, outside any nation's jurisdiction. The idea is simple. If you don't like any country's laws, make your own country, on a boat. It sounds insane. It probably is insane. People are trying it anyway. Now, before you rush out to buy a decommissioned oil rig, there are problems. Huge problems. Engineering problems. Building structures that survive ocean storms is expensive and hard. Legal problems. Every country will argue you're still subject to someone's laws. Practical problems. Where do you get food, fresh water, medical care, Wi-Fi for your extremely important YouTube habit? But here's what's fascinating. It's not technically illegal. There's no law against living in international waters. Nations don't like it. They'll make things difficult, but the ocean is big and enforcement is expensive, and if you're far enough out, you're effectively beyond reach. Some people are already doing versions of this, not full floating cities, but living on boats, moving between jurisdictions, staying in international waters, only coming to shore for supplies. Digital nomads took location independence and said, what if we meant that literally? The trade-off? You're on a boat, always. Boats are terrible. They're expensive. They break constantly. Everything is damp. You're one storm away from dying. But you're also free from pretty much every regulation that governs land-based human existence. It's the ultimate escape from the system. So ultimate that most people look at it and think, yeah, no thanks. I like solid ground and reasonable access to tacos. Now here's where we enter truly strange territory. There are places in America that exist legally, but not physically. Paper towns, phantom municipalities, legal entities that have addresses, sometimes even zip codes, but no actual residents. These usually started as real places, mining towns that dried up, railroad stops that became obsolete, planned communities that never got built, but they maintained some form of legal existence, usually for tax purposes, sometimes because nobody bothered to formally dissolve them. Here's why this matters. In some cases, these places still have the legal structure of a municipality, which means, theoretically, you could move there, establish residency, and be living in a jurisdiction with basically no governance because there's nobody to govern. There's a town in Nevada, I won't name it because I don't want to ruin it, that has a population of 4. It has a post office. It has a zip code. It technically has a mayor, who is also the postmaster, who is also the only store owner. The entire municipal government fits in one person. That person is very tired. In these places, getting things approved is easy because there's nobody to disapprove them. Building codes? Who's enforcing them? The mayor postmaster who's trying to keep the store open? Zoning laws? Sure, they exist on paper from 1952. Nobody's checking. It's not total freedom. Federal and state laws still apply. But the entire layer of local bureaucracy just doesn't exist in any meaningful way. It's like playing a video game where you found a part of the map the developers forgot to finish. The catch? There's nothing there. No infrastructure, no services, no community. You're free from the system because the system forgot you exist, but that means you're also free from electricity that works consistently, roads that get maintained, and human contact beyond the weekly mail delivery. It's freedom through neglect, which is still freedom, just lonely freedom. Finally, let's talk about places where different levels of government can't agree who's in charge, so nobody is really in charge. There are border areas between states where jurisdiction gets murky, counties that state governments ignore, federal land that's technically managed but practically forgotten, military bases that closed decades ago but never got properly transferred back to civilian control. There's a stretch of land in Idaho, I'm being vague on purpose, where county, state, and federal boundaries create a legal knot so complicated that law enforcement basically avoids it. It's not that crime is legal there. It's that prosecuting crime requires figuring out which court has jurisdiction, and nobody wants to deal with that paperwork. Some clever people have figured this out. They live in these gray zones, they do their thing, and when authorities show up, they play the jurisdictional shell game until everyone gets frustrated and leaves. It's not a life hack I'm recommending. It's more like a glitch in the legal code that exists because our system of overlapping jurisdictions was designed in the 1700s, and nobody's updated it, because doing so would require Congress to agree on something. But it demonstrates a fundamental truth. The system is held together by assumption. We assume the government has authority everywhere. We assume every inch of land has clear governance. We assume the rules are consistent. They're not. There are gaps, plenty of them. You just have to know where to look. Now, let's take this to its logical conclusion. Let's escalate. What if you combined these strategies? What if you established residency in American Samoa to avoid federal income tax, bought property in a forgotten Alaska bush community to avoid most local regulation, set up a business on tribal land to leverage sovereignty, and spent half the year on a boat in international waters? You'd be living in a legal fractal, a jurisdictional choose-your-own-adventure. You'd be subject to so many different legal systems that you'd effectively be subject to none of them in any meaningful way. Could you actually do this? Technically, yes. Would it be practical? Absolutely not. Would it be expensive? Incredibly. Would it require becoming an expert in maritime law, tribal sovereignty, territorial tax codes, and Alaskan survival skills, obviously. But here's the thing. People are doing versions of this, not all at once, but pieces of it. The digital nomad who uses territorial tax loopholes, the off-gridder who lives in legal gray zones, the boat dweller who moves between jurisdictions, the person who quietly exists in a place the system forgot. They're not trying to destroy society. They're not anarchists. They just looked at the cost-benefit analysis of modern compliance culture and said, "I'll take my chances elsewhere, thanks." And the system lets them. Not because the system is generous, but because the system is big and slow and full of holes. And sometimes people slip through those holes, and the system doesn't notice or doesn't care enough to do anything about it. It's not freedom from all rules. It's freedom from the specific configuration of rules that modern American life assumes is universal. It's discovering that universal isn't actually universal. It's finding the seams in reality where things work differently. So here we are, the last corners of America that escaped the system. They're real, they're weird, they're absolutely not for everyone. Most people will watch this video and think, that's interesting, and then go back to their regulated, permitted, taxed, monitored lives. Because honestly, modern society, for all its suffocating bureaucracy, provides something valuable. Convenience, stability, infrastructure, community, and the reasonable assumption that your neighbor isn't going to build a chemical plant in his backyard without any oversight. But for some people, maybe you, knowing these places exist changes something. It breaks the illusion of inevitability. It reminds you that the way things are isn't the only way things can be. It shows you that the system, massive as it is, has limits, boundaries, edges where its power fades into something else. The question isn't whether you should move to American Samoa, or buy a boat, or disappear into the Alaskan wilderness. The question is, what does it mean that these options exist? What does it say about freedom that we've built a society where real autonomy requires going to the literal edges of the map? Maybe nothing, maybe everything. Maybe it's just interesting. Maybe it's evidence that despite everything, despite the cameras and the regulations and the taxes and the forms and the compliance training, there are still places where you can be left alone, for now, before someone decides those places need fixing too, before the optimization spreads to every corner, before the last gaps get filled in the name of progress or safety or efficiency or whatever we're calling control these days. But that's a topic for another video. One about whether freedom requires inconvenience, whether true autonomy is compatible with modern life, whether escaping the system means giving up everything the system provides. Click that next video before the algorithm decides you've had enough subversive content for today, before YouTube's recommendation engine steers you back towards safe, advertiser-friendly waters, before I get sent to Guam without sunscreen as punishment for revealing too much. See you there, or don't. You're free to choose, for now, while choice still exists, in the last corners that escape the system.